Whew, finally a Gravity Falls episode that I can be critical of again. This is Gravity Falls Season 1, Boyz, crazy, Boyz with a Z, in which Mabel and her friends are in this episode again, and I was super psyched about that, get all excited for the opportunity to go see their favorite boy band perform. Holding firm on the belief that they're going to meet the members of the band while they're there, somehow, even though that's not something that typically happens. They're enthusiastic children. Who am I to say that their aspirations are stupid? They end up arriving too late, the concert is sold out, so they sneak inside to the dressing room for the band and discover a shocking secret. Now, I should point out that the episode goes out of its way to make it clear that the members of this boy band are identical. I mean, granted, they have slightly different hairstyles, one of them has facial hair, they wear different clothing, but in terms of their body structure and their facial structure, the color of the hair, the color of their eyes, they're identical. And the joke is even made that boy bands are just manufactured musical entertainment. That their looks, their personas, everything is corporatized. And they take the joke one step further, and I have mad respect for the show for going this far, by making them literal clones. Their producer literally cloned them and threatens them with replacement by their clones if they don't perform properly. That is simultaneously dark and hilarious. And it was everything leading up to this scene, everything with Mabel and her friends leading up to this scene, that was kind of the saving grace of this episode, for me at least. Mabel and her friends free the boy band from their evil producer and take them back to the Mystery Shack. Their plan is to get them acclimated to the real world so that they can be free just as soon as the coast is clear and their producer isn't going to find them again. But Mabel takes to having them around a little too much, starts controlling every aspect of their lives, and won't let them leave even once the coast is clear. She argues over this with her friends, ends up having the boy band throw them out. But then she sees that what she's doing isn't really any better than what their producer was doing to them. She and her friends reconcile, and she lets the boys go free. There's also a secondary plot where Dipper thinks that there might be a hypnotic message in some music that Robbie was playing for Wendy. Stan, because he is paranoid about literally everything, immediately believes him. The two of them work together to discover that there actually is a hypnotic message in the song that Robbie was playing for Wendy, a song that he claimed to have written for her himself. They rush out to crash a date between Wendy and Robbie. Don't get me wrong, I don't like Robbie, but that's a little harsh. So that Dipper can reveal the hypnotic message to Wendy and she'll dump Robbie. And she does end up dumping Robbie, but not because of the hypnotic message in the music, but because he admits to stealing the music from, I think it was like a source online or something. Robbie has been lying to her a lot and standing her up a lot, and this is the last straw. However, this ends up really hurting Wendy. And Dipper comes out of it looking just as insensitive as Robbie. Which, when this plotline started, that's kind of what I expected it to come to, but it was still kind of shocking. Usually things tend to work out between Dipper and Wendy by the end of the episode. Overall, I didn't hate this episode or anything. I just feel like it had some problems, and it didn't really grab me the way that some previous episodes have. I feel like the pacing was a little bit off. The flow from one scene to the next didn't quite feel as natural to me as it has in past episodes. The Dipper plot in this was interesting, I guess, but we never get any elaboration on where this song came from or if the hypnotic message they found was even real or just some huge coincidence. At the end of the day, it didn't really seem substantial enough to have caused something as substantial as Wendy breaking up with Robbie and now being upset with Dipper as well, especially when the episode started with her and Dipper getting along so well as we've ever seen them getting along. This feels like a big shift for the series, and the plot line that brought us up to it didn't feel big enough to justify the payoff. I did mention, though, that all the stuff leading up to the reveal that the boy band members are clones was the saving grace of the episode for me, because it was just comedy gold. Mabel and her friends were on point, more so than they've ever been before. They had some of their funniest moments. Individually, together, it was great. Can they just be in every episode, please? And they all got some additional great moments. Even the boy band characters got some great moments as the episode progressed. But Mabel's plot specifically felt very disjointed to me. It was kind of a whole you can become the same evil that you're trying to prevent kind of thing, with her becoming all super controlling of the boy band the same way that their producer had been. But they never acknowledged that what he did was so much more than just being controlling of them. We don't really get to know this guy very much, but it's very clear he's pretty much pure evil. He never had any good intentions for them at all. And I'm pretty sure human cloning is still incredibly illegal and considered a crime against nature. And all of that is just completely glossed over in such a way that I didn't feel satisfied by the time this episode ended that anything had actually been resolved. Maybe that's intentional, maybe we'll get a follow-up to this later on, but as of now, this episode just felt like it was left hanging. I didn't like the way it resolved because it didn't feel like it resolved at all. Not only that, but there's like a half second when they're trying to free the boy band members at first, where the episode seems like it's going the route of the producer as an abuser. The boys claim that he says that he loves them, so they have to stay with him. But then they just dismiss that immediately, probably because they were going to draw parallels later in the episode between Mabel's behavior and the behavior of the producer, and they didn't want to paint Mabel to be an abuser, but they still did. She was still technically abusive towards them. The fact that they didn't call any more attention to it than they did doesn't change that. I just feel like drawing a concrete parallel between the producer's actions and a real-world equivalent would have made the message of the episode, the message that you can become the same evil that you're trying to prevent, that much stronger, and that it might have even helped the resolution of this episode feel more natural. Because instead of Mabel overcoming vague, general, barely explored evil, Mabel realizes she's on the path to becoming an abuser and stops. It would just feel that much more definitive with a real-world parallel to compare it to. And you can still draw the comparison. I just feel like the way they dismissed it made it seem like they didn't want us to draw that parallel. Overall, there was still some really good stuff in this episode. I don't regret watching it or anything like that. I just feel like it could have been so much better. And this may be my least favorite episode of the series so far. It's only that beginning part with Mabel and her friends that makes me hesitant to say that. But of course, as usual guys, I'd like to know, what did you think of this episode if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.
The apocalypse is coming soon. Bury your gold. You've been buying gold, right?